Indiana's hat tips to Casablanca, Pam Grier, Shakespeare, and Willy Wonka. Dolomites in charge, Tom Popo's a go. Lightsabers clash in the Thunderdome. This miscellaneous film festival, where every movie's incredible. You never know what to expect. This film festival's the best. This film festival's the best.
Welcome to the Miscellaneous Film Festival, a podcast for curiously curated films, and this, the third part of our Shakespeare mini film festival. My name is Jacin.
And I'm Dustin.
And tonight we're talking about 1999's A Midsummer Night's Dream, directed by Michael Hoffman. Ill met by moonlight, proud Dustin. That's right, I'm casting myself as Oberon in this episode, and you as Titania, which, by the way, Michael Pfeiffer, the man, the drag performer that played Titania in this version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, was on point. He was absolutely gorgeous. I was totally sympathizing with Bottom. Like, I would have fallen in love with him in an instant.
I confess I agree. That was actually Michelle Pfeiffer, Mr. Jacin.
Oh, are you serious? You mean from the beloved movie Grease 2?
I know it's incredible that she got work after Witches of Eastwick. But it's the case.
I really liked Witches of Eastwick, actually.
I mostly like it.
There's a lot to like about Witches. I was trying to make a little joke about an all-male cast like they did in Shakespeare's time when women were not allowed to be actors. But yes,
right.
Titania was played by Michelle Pfeiffer. We also have Calista Flockhart as Helena.
And the lead actor from The Wire. No one knows his name. I don't, so therefore no one does.
It's a pretty stacked cast. We even have Stanley Tucci. We've got Rupert, Everett, and Christian Bale in there.
Yes.
Someone called Kevin Kline. I love Kevin Kline.
I do too.
I think Kevin Kline is genuinely hilarious.
Yes, in many things.
I especially love his Bottom. He plays Bottom.
That's his whole person in this movie.
Yeah, that's the name of his character, and this is one of the Shakespeare plays that I've been in. I got cast as Puck in a summer production of A Midsummer Night's Dream that the theater decided to do outdoors, a la the Globe Theater in Shakespeare's time. So in July, they said, we're going to stage a play in the parking lot. And July in Missouri is not mild. And when you're wearing layered costumes in 100-degree heat, fucking sucks.
When we watched this when my wife and I watched this movie last night, she actually revealed to me that she played the moon in high school as a freshman, which I thought was hilarious. That's a wonderful little anecdote that I did not know about her.
She was one of the rude mechanicals?
Yes. She was. I think she simply played the moon.
Was it like a school production where they double up characters and kind of to get more kids a chance to...
Yes, which is wonderful. And, I mean, listen, that's better than my acting career, so I can't judge. But
in part one of the Shakespeare Festival, we talked about in Much Ado About Nothing, the horrible scene where Claudio and Leonardo accost Hero. Mm-hmm. Claudio being her love, who she's supposed to be marrying, and Leonardo being her father. After there's suspicion risen that she has cheated on Claudio, and they say, oh, you should basically die because you've shamed the house or you've broken his heart. This play starts with the same thing, where Hermia is supposedly betrothed to Demetrius, or that's her father's wish, but she's actually in love with Lysander, and her father goes to, I don't know who Theseus is. He's not the mayor. He's like the local king.
Yeah, definitely someone of high import, but it's not made clear, at least not in the film it's not.
Right, and Hermia's father wants to invoke his ancient right, which everyone in the play literally says he is entitled to do.
Yes. That
if she doesn't marry who he wants her to marry as his daughter, he can have her killed.
Or he also mentions early on essentially sending her away and she'll be a nun for the rest of her life.
Theseus puts that out there as an alternative that her father can choose.
As a more humane compromise.
But it is up to her father
to
force her into this. What I like about this version, a film version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, is how it presents that as tragic, and how it presents Theseus as kind, as recognizing that yes, that is the law, because I mean they have to do the lines that were written by Shakespeare, but they present it in a way that Theseus is sympathetic.
Yes.
That he wants her to live. He's compelling her to obey her father for the sake of her life.
Not because he necessarily agrees. Yeah.
Right. He's a little bit saddened that Theseus is taking it to this extreme.
Yeah.
I love this play so much that after watching this movie, I actually switched over and watched a stage performance of A Midsummer Night's Dream that was presented by the National Theatre in the UK. And their interpretation of it took the exact opposite tack that kind of more reflected what things were like for women in Shakespeare's time, where Hermia and Helena are costumed to look like they're in The Handmaid's Tale. And in this scene where Theseus is talking to Hermia's father and Hermia, Lysander, and Demetrius, Hippolyta, his bride-to-be, is there. But she is in a cage.
Yeah.
Because there's that line where Theseus says that basically he won her in war, but now he's going to woo her with kind words and love, which, again, this movie version presents that kindly, like, oh, man, things started rough between us, but from here on out, I'm going to be kind and devoted. In the stage version I watched, they really made that clear that he had won her and now she was his property.
Right. How much do you think Shakespeare thought of this play as a comedy versus actually reflecting his beliefs about how love works?
Oh my goodness, I think it's definitely more of a comedy.
It's definitely for me too.
A situation. It's not a sitcom, but it's a comedy of circumstance.
Yes.
It's a farce basically where Shakespeare, as theater kids all know, never wrote any stage directions, never wrote anything in parentheses or in italics to let you know what a character was thinking or how things should be spoken. It's all just straight text, just straight dialogue. But everyone who stages A Midsummer Night's Dream, including in this movie, where when our four lovers go into the woods, they find basically a set with different ramps and staircases and levels, like in old fairy ruins in amongst the trees, but set up in a way where you can run off stage left and then run off stage right and do all kinds of farcical
Scooby-Doo logic.
Yeah. So the movie stages it that way. All theaters stage it that way pretty much because it seems inherent in how it was written.
Yes.
That this is supposed to be people running off and running back and bumping into each other. And you get opportunities to exchange duos. Sometimes Hermia's talking to Demetrius. Sometimes Demetrius is talking to Lysander. Helena gets to talk to Hermia. Then Helena's talking to Lysander. And we get to see the full range of each character's interaction with the other three. Mm-hmm. And establish the kind of mixed up world this is in. The farce.
Yeah, and also a lot of the character names are like, they would fit right in an ancient Greek play. And the fairies and how they operate with the humans is very much in that kind of demigod way that the Greek gods are. They're very petty and conniving. They're not like the gods of the monotheistic religions that we have today, right? Like Zeus and Apollo and Ares, all those guys, they're pretty terrible to human beings and they meddle in their affairs all the time. I wonder how much of that, I mean, given that Shakespeare wrote a ton of plays that were taking place in his contemporary time or just before, the fact that he places this one, much more in a Greek setting, I'm sure that I'm pretty confident that he wanted this to be somewhat of a slap against the notion of the Greek gods and gods being petty.
I have a different theory, actually.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
Given the way theater and plays were regulated at the time, where there were strict laws against sedition, against depicting sexuality, depicting religion, there was a lot of heavy censorship in what you could say, what you could get away with.
Correct, yeah.
So within those constraints, Shakespeare would do things like have no mention of Christianity as such,
right, or
very lightly in a way that could not be misconstrued as controversial or anything like that. So writing about Greeks, right, setting things far away, setting things in other countries, putting his words in the mouths of non-Englishmen,
right,
gave some liberty to say, of course I would never say this. No Englishman would say these things. these are Greeks, you know what they're like. Or with Romeo and Juliet, these are Italians, you know what they're like. For them to talk about kissing and loving so much. Because audiences, both in the nobility and common folks who would come to his theater, the groundlings, they ate this stuff up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of poppy, crowd-pleasing stuff in Shakespeare. As great a writer as he is, as great of a mind, and as great as his poetry is, he was also trying to put butts in seats and also conforming to constraints of the law and the standards of the time.
Yeah, and I think that whenever he's dealing with love, especially in the comedy context, I think the way that I view Shakespeare, I don't think he's agnostic. I think he does have some...
Agnostic about love?
Oh, about religion.
Okay.
There's a definite sense of rebellion in Shakespeare when it comes to religion, but I don't think it's at the trade-off of atheism. I think there's something else going on there with him. To me, he seems like someone who's against organized religion, especially because of its social constraints. But I also think he's wise enough to know that religion at some level, regardless, the audience can take at some level, however they will. But at some level, it probably did give a lot of social cohesion throughout history. So I think really it's a question of balance, not a question of either or. But yeah, I find him, he's quite rebellious, but he does it in his comedies, I'd say. And I think that he uses comedy as a smokescreen for a lot of this stuff. Because his view of love in this play, I wouldn't call it nonsensical, but he does find it irrational. But I think he also finds it to be beautiful. And
yes.
And both romantic love and platonic love. I read the ending of this movie in particular, where we have these kind of blue collar guys. They're writing a play within the play.
Mechanicals?
Yes,
yeah.
They are so lovely, and they're like regular old working dudes, right? Like they're not writers.
Oh, they are one of the best things, and I have mixed feelings about the rude mechanicals, but they are one of the best things that Shakespeare invented in his plays, because as an amateur theater group is doing A Midsummer Night's Dream, they have a reflection of themselves in the rude mechanicals, who are definitely making it up as they go.
Yes.
And are more or less qualified to be doing theater at all.
Yes.
And that's what's fun about them.
Absolutely. But I find so much joy, especially in their performances. Also a really young, or not really young, but a younger Sam Rockwell is in this movie.
Yes.
And
as Thisbe.
Yes.
As Francis Flute, and he's the youngest of the troupe, and he's concerned about playing a lady because he has a beard coming in. And Sam Rockwell, he's so cute.
And he's he has to do everything in falsetto, but it's great. And I look at that stuff and I'm like, I think that Shakespeare, maybe it's less Shakespeare and more this director, but there's a real platonic love between those guys putting on that play. Like they believe in this little thing that they're doing, and it's not a good play, and they're not good actors, but by God damn it, they're going to do it, and they're going to like it, and they actually make it in the end. They get their little medals, and I found it extremely heartwarming, actually. This movie wraps up in such a beautiful way. And there's, our most recent episode that we recorded together was a B-movie film festival. This play that they put on is a B movie of its time.
It is.
And
it is. I would never thought
so
about
there's such joy, around this little gem that they've created, and it kind of sucks, but it's a gem nonetheless. And they're on cloud 9 at the end of the movie. And I think in that we're supposed to take, there's real love and craft in that. But even if it's a misfire ultimately, but really what matters is that they loved working together, that they feel that there's this sense of accomplishment, right? But it's all kind of irrational, right? And Shakespeare talks about that a lot in this play, that love is this thing that kind of seizes you. You don't have full control over it. Such as, I forget the character's name, but the woman who's in love with the Christian Bale character, and he wants nothing to do with her.
Such as Helena.
Helena, thank you, yeah. And she has some of the best lines and performance in the movie. But
she does. She's great.
She's amazing. But she's in love with someone that just does not reciprocate those feelings. And so many of us have been there, if we're going to be honest. I certainly have.
You certainly have.
And I love his treatment of love in this, and it's very multifaceted. I don't think he's trying to sell us any particular vision of love. Like I feel like it's like riffing on the idea of love, and not to make sport of it, but to like it's just he's just throwing out so many ideas about the complexity of love in these different scenarios about people getting together versus not. It's everywhere.
It's turning everything on its head. It's a big topsy-turvy adventure where,
–
quote unquote, I mean, to oversimplify, Hermia is the hottest girl in town because there's only 2 girls and there's only 2 boys.
Right.
Hermia is the hottest girl in town, and the only 2 boys in town, Demetrius and Lysander, both want to marry her.
Correct.
Then Lysander and Hermia run off in the woods. Demetrius chases Helena after him, and the fairies put a magic spell on the boys. From now, the boys, I mean, and it's all farcically done. The boys now love Helena, and Helena's freaking out because she's always been overlooked. Surely they must be lying.
It must be a joke.
This is a joke. They're teasing her. And Hermia must be in on it. And Hermia is now suffering the fact that no one likes her.
Right.
She doesn't mind that Demetrius doesn't like her. But for Lysander to now be in love with Helena, it's just... And then it's undone by the end. It's... we were talking about how, before we got recording, how Shakespeare would put out a play maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
Maybe up to 3 times a year. And I was researching that in Elizabethan theaters, there would be new plays performed daily, weekly. The turnaround was very high. It wasn't like nowadays where even in a community theater, you're looking at a 2-weekend run of the same thing for each day of the performance, or on Broadway where maybe you plan to do a few months, and then based on ticket sales, you extend. They were turning things over so fast that I likened it almost to writers doing a weekly sitcom.
Right.
Where it's like, you have to be churning out some work. And when things were popular enough, they would get played over and over again. Sometimes audiences would get to shout out and request. Actually, Elizabethan actors had to have maybe 4 or 5, maybe more plays in their repertoire memorized
at all
and
times,
ready to go, because it could be on a day's notice like, oh man, this is going to be a tragedy crowd, do a tragedy by this guy. Oh hey, this festival's coming up, we need a really fun sprightly Midsummer Night's Dream thing, whip that out, and you got to be ready to go. Yeah.
And I love the happy ending of Midsummer Night's Dream because it's so lovely and joyous. Like it's not cheap.
Everybody comes together. Everybody gets to love.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to love who they want, except Demetrius, who is still under the spell and is now going to be in love with Helena. And they might have the best relationship of anyone.
It's
till
true.
the day they die. But it is based on Demetrius being drugged.
It's pretty great.
I like to think that Demetrius is not the best guy before he's drugged. And then he becomes better, and so it's okay.
Yes, I'm totally okay with it. It fits in with the absurdist kind of logic of the play, and I love the final shots of Kevin Kline going home after their performance.
Because in this movie they weaved in, pun intended, Bottom the Weaver, they weaved in a kind of backstory for Kevin Kline's character Bottom, because Bottom is written in a way that is most often interpreted as kind of an egomaniac, kind of a show-off actor.
Right. They don't show this in the movie, but my sense is he goes home and actually has a better marriage from that day forward.
He's a little humbled.
Yes. Because I think they know that the play they did is kind of shoddy, but they're just they're so entranced by the fact that it was liked by the audience, and it really is B-movie status. And so yes, the David Strathairn character Theseus, he is making this kind of whispered commentary to the B-movie play that's being performed at the end, but he's not jeering at it. Like it seems like he's really enjoying it for what it is.
Shakespeare basically puts an audience and another play on stage at the very end of his play.
Yeah.
So we get to see this kind of behind the scenes parody of theater, and then an audience parodied getting to give their own kind of audience commentary.
Yeah.
In this one, it was very nice and gentle.
Yes.
The National Theater one I saw was definitely going for deeper laughs and was a little bit more jeering.
Right. And I found this to be so joyous the way that it was done. So no, I loved this movie. And also I have to say I loved the sets in this movie.
Oh yeah.
That I love
It's
that you can
beautiful.
tell that they're just running around each other on the set. Some
Yeah,
people
it's
might
one
not
big
like
fake set.
Yeah, like some people may not like that, but it's like that adds to the kind of absurdity of it to me. It has this fairy logic, right? Like, so it's really great. It's like it doesn't matter if you don't like it. You wouldn't even understand it if you were there. So like it's great. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, a comedy of circumstance, totally the right way of describing it. But
I will say there's one critique I have for the play itself, and in particular this movie version of it, is as the action mounts, it's very exciting. We're spending all this time with the four young lovers, but also with Titania and Bottom, as Bottom is translated into an ass, and Oberon is watching over his mischief, and Puck is dancing through it all. It really feels like all of that resolves when the next day the lovers wake up in the woods, paired up the way they should be, and Hermia's dad is still saying, this isn't what I want, but Theseus decides to pardon Hermia, let her marry Lysander, because he's glad to see that Demetrius is now in love with Helena. A happy ending. That is the end of the movie for me. I don't want to do a special cut of this, but I just feel like the action really resolves so cleanly right there. Bottom gets to go back to his company of actors, and at that point in the movie, I'm not excited about seeing their play, about seeing the Rude Mechanicals perform Pyramus and Thisbe. However, that story is so beautiful. Those really wholesome actors make it so exciting to watch them. I wish that we could somehow move that action in closer to the middle of the story, resolve that on its own somehow. It would not fit. I know that's impossible. But then the story could end with this happy ending of the lovers coming together, and we don't have to watch them go to a play and talk through it.
I don't know. I totally understand where you're coming from, but
it's not the right way to feel about this.
Yeah, I like the epilogue nature of that play within a play, and I take it as a kind of meta commentary on the themes of a Midsummer Night's Dream, right? So I feel like the play the play within the play exists somewhat outside and is commenting on the play that we, the audience, just got done watching. At least that's how I felt about it. And
that's how you're supposed to. That is the correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And for me, that totally works. But I'm so happy that you recommended this movie to me, Jacin. Because I had seen this cover many times growing up, and I'm pretty sure that we saw the first half an hour of it in high school, but it's been purged from my memory. So I went into it completely fresh. The only thing that I recognized on the poster looking at it was the Stanley Tucci's bald head.
Stanley Tucci as Puck.
He is very
great.
iconic.
So sublime.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shows will do Puck as almost like Robin Williams' Genie in Aladdin.
Right.
Like he's supposed to get all the big laughs. Stanley Tucci does it with just a side eye.
Yes, and I like that a lot more. There's so much subtlety to it. Yeah. It's like watching a great improviser, right? It's like they're not even trying. It's effortless, at least it seems like it.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, I guess in summation, I loved this movie. I recommend A Midsummer Night's Dream from 1999 to everybody. And all I can say in my final remarks is feed me the line.
What fools these mortals be.
What fools these mortals be.
Bravo! Bravo! Well, thanks everybody for listening. I'm Jacin.
I'm Dustin.
And this has been a part of our Shakespeare Mini Film Festival. Listen next week to our next episode. It's going to be all about the tragedy of Macbeth. This has been the Miscellaneous Film Festival podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Renaissance rebel in your tights so fine, turning my pages through love divine. I'll be Titania, you're my Oberon, a midsummer night that never moves on. quips and charms. Wrap me up in your eloquent arms.